Give me liberty or give me death. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Ask not what your country can do for you.
77 years ago,
America was built on courage, on imagination. The American flag is the most recognized symbol of freedom and democracy in the world.
Small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I want to begin with a letter. The year is 1780. The war has not yet begun. The Constitution has not been written. The Republic is barely drawing its first breath. And Benjamin Franklin is sitting in Paris, putting something remarkable to paper. He wrote that he was sorry to have been born too soon, because he would not have the happiness of knowing what will be known 100 years hence. Now think about that for a moment. The man who drew lightning from the clouds, who was at the very moment in the process negotiating the treaty that would end the Revolutionary War, said his only regret was that he wouldn't live long enough to see what was coming next. That is the American mind in utero. Not satisfied with the present, not content simply to defend what already exists, always turning towards the next unknown, always looking for the edge of the map, and of course, past it. We are the people Franklin imagined. We are 250 years into this experiment he helped design. And if he were here today, having seen what we've built, the aircraft, the satellites, the computers, the machines that think, he would probably say the same thing again. I'm sorry, I won't live to see what comes next. As of 2026, the Department of Defense has entered into agreements with 8 leading AI companies, including SpaceX, OpenAI, Google, NVIDIA, Reflection, Microsoft, AWS, and Oracle, to deploy frontier AI capabilities directly onto classified military networks. Over 1.3 million DoD personnel have used the Department of Defense's GenAI.mil platform since its launch. Tasks that once took months now take days. The founders built a system that prizes individual ingenuity and competition. That system is now producing the warfighting capability of the next century. The thread of the core discovery engineers to today's battlefield runs directly through the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, an organization that most Americans have never heard of. And that may be, and I say this without much hesitation, the single most important intelligence organization in American warfighting history. Remember, William Clark drew 140 maps by hand. He had a compass, a sextant, and a journal. Today, his institutional descendants are training AI to read the entire surface of the Earth, not once, but continuously. The mission hasn't changed, the speed has. Despite what Al Gore tells us, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, invented the internet. They invented GPS, stealth aircraft, voice recognition, among dozens of other technologies that now permeate civilian life. Its mission is not to merely imagine the future. Its mission is to create and prevent technological surprise. And that distinction matters now more than it ever has. Because artificial intelligence is no longer an emerging tool sitting somewhere out on the horizon, it is not a research project waiting to become relevant. It is already becoming a utility, as basic to everyday commerce as electricity, water, fuel, or telecommunications. Let's be clear, artificial intelligence is a marketing term. It cannot create consciousness. It can only project consciousness that we program into it. Good training and good engineering will lead to a robust and trustworthy artificial intelligence system. The nation that controls it, secures it, integrates it, and governs it will move faster than the nation that merely debates it. The army that can use it under fire will see first, decide first, strike first, and survive. That is why DARPA Air Combat Evolution Program matters. In 2024, DARPA's ACE program achieved something that had never been done before. An AI algorithm running on a heavily modified F-16 called the X-62A Alpha flew in live aerial combat against a human-piloted F-16 in visual-range dogfighting scenarios. The human pilot had a kill switch. He never used it. That was not a gimmick, it was not a novelty, it was a threshold event. That breakthrough was not simply that machines could fly. The breakthrough was that human beings began to understand when the machine could be trusted at machine speed under real-world conditions inside of a combat problem where hesitation kills. The point was not to remove the human from being in war. The point was to give the human commander a force that can process the battle space faster than any unaided mind ever could. This is the new reality. AI is not replacing judgment. It is becoming the utility through which judgment is exercised at scale. A commander without AI will not simply be less efficient. He will be blind, slow, and exposed against an adversary who has built AI into the nervous system of his force. A pilot without machine speed support will be flying inside of a battle space that has already passed him. A unit without local compute, autonomous sensing, resilient communications, and algorithmic targeting assistance will be like a 19th century column marching without maps. The old American problem was the terrain. The new American problem is tempo. DARPA's mosaic warfare concept recognizes this. It's distributing sensing, decision, and action across thousands of networked manned and unmanned platforms, aircraft, ground robots, ships, satellites, and autonomous systems. No single node becomes the center. No single failure breaks the kill chain. The whole force becomes adaptive, distributed, and lethal. This is not an optimal modernization program. This is the shape of survival. China understands this. Russia understands this. Every serious adversary understands the battlefield's supremacy will belong to those who confuse AI, autonomy, space, cyber, robotics, and edge computing into one operational system of war. And once an authoritarian power achieves that supremacy, it will not treat it as an academic advantage. It will use it. That is the lesson history keeps teaching us. A power that can win and believes it should dominate does not remain passive forever. It believes, it pressures, it coerces, and when it believes the gap is wide enough, it attacks. So the question before America is not whether AI should become part of the solution. It already is the solution. The question is whether the solution will be built, secured, and governed first by a republic founded on liberty, law, restraint, and human dignity, or whether it will be built by regimes that see human beings as instruments of the state. That is why DARPA's SABRE program matters. SABRE is not just about technical reliability. It's about force modernization and tempo. It's about trust under conditions of war. It's about proving that AI systems our warfighters use are resilient against deception, manipulation, adversarial attack, and failure. Because once AI is fully codified as a utility, attacking it becomes tantamount to attacking the power grid, attacking the water supply, attacking the communications network, and the command structure all at once. A corrupted AI layer can misread the battlefield. A compromised targeting system can turn precision into chaos. A manipulated autonomous network can make speed dangerous. A military that cannot trust its machine layer cannot fight at the modern tempo. The goal then is not about an autonomous military detached from human consciousness. The goal is an American military in which disciplined commanders, trained in history, terrain, law, and moral responsibility, are empowered by machines that can handle the data flood, the sensor fusion, the targeting math, and the speed of the modern battlefield. The machine carries the load, the human carries the moral weight, but the side that refuses the machine will not preserve its humanity. It will simply lose its humanity to those who have no intention of preserving theirs. Space is no longer a distant theater. It is the infrastructure layer beneath modern civilization. Navigation, banking, agriculture, aviation, missile warning, precision fires, communications, weather forecasting, disaster response, and global logistics all depend on systems orbiting above us. The high ground is no longer symbolic. It is not merely strategic. It is operational, commercial, and civilizational. Space has become a utility as well. And as with every utility, the question is not whether or not people will use it. They already do. The question is who secures it, who governs it, who defends it, and who can keep it functioning when an enemy tries to take it away. This is why the Artemis program matters. It is not only about returning to the moon. It is about proving that free nations can still explore, build, cooperate, and occupy the next frontier before authoritarian powers decide the terms of access. The founders understood that exploration was never separate from sovereignty. Lewis and Clark were not tourists. They were not wandering romantics. They were the forward edge of national presence. They carried instruments, maps, weapons, diplomatic instructions, scientific curiosity, and the authority of a republic determined to understand the continent before rival empires could do the same. The same principle now applies to the lunar frontier. The moon is not only a destination, it's a terrain. Mars is not just a dream, it's the horizon. The space between Earth and the moon is not empty. It is the next operating environment. America cannot afford to arrive second. If China establishes the dominant architecture of the next frontier, communications, logistics, surveillance positioning, resource extraction, and military presence, then the free world will live inside of an infrastructure designed by a regime that does not believe in freedom. If Russia or China gains the ability to threaten or deny American access to space, then every soldier, sailor, airman, marine, guardian, and civilian who depends on that space layer becomes vulnerable. The founders would have understood this immediately. They would have understood that liberty requires reach. They would have understood that self-government requires infrastructure. They would have understood that an unexplored frontier does not remain neutral. It is either mapped by free people or controlled by someone else. That is why space, like AI, is not an accessory to national power. It is part of the utility layer of our great republic. The free American must move, map, build, and secure first. That is what AI now requires of us. The creation of a career AI and machine learning officer is not a bureaucratic housekeeping item. It is a recognition that artificial intelligence has become a core military utility. Like electricity, it must be generated, distributed, secured, governed, and maintained. Like water, it must be trusted at the point of use. Like fuel, it determines range, speed, endurance, and operational freedom. A force that treats AI as a side project will lose to a force that treats it as an infrastructure. The same is true of edge computing. The Army's investment in platforms that allow units to process data locally in GPS-denied and communication-jammed environments is not a luxury, it's a battlefield necessity. The cloud will not always be available. Satellites will be jammed. Networks will be attacked. Command posts will be targeted. Units will be isolated. When that happens, the question will be brutally simple. Can this unit still see? Can it decide? Can it move? Can it strike? Can it survive? AI is at the edge of that answer, not someday, now. And this is where the moral question becomes unavoidable. America must be the first mover in these spaces not because we are perfect, but because America is the only great power founded explicitly on the proposition that rights come before the state. The American system, at its best, binds power to law, subjects command to civilian authority, protects the individual from the government, and insists that the military force be accountable to moral judgment. The foundation matters because AI will magnify whoever wields it. In the hands of a free republic, it can help defend order, deter aggression, reduce risk to human beings, and preserve the space in which liberty can survive. In the hands of an authoritarian regime, it becomes something else: a surveillance engine, a coercion engine, a targeting engine, a mechanism for controlling populations and overwhelming adversaries before they can respond. China and Russia are not waiting for philosophical consensus. They are building, they are integrating, they are probing for weakness. They are copying what we are doing as we lead the way. They understand that the side that achieves battlefield supremacy will be the ones who first dictate terms before the other side can react. And once they believe they possess that supremacy, they will not leave it unused. That is why hesitation is dangerous. The Republic does not have the luxury of treating AI autonomy, space systems, robotics, cyber defense, and resilient communications as separate debates. Together, they are the new strategic utility layer. They are the modern equivalent to roads, railroads, maps, telegraphs, radar, and GPS. They are how power moves, they are how decisions happen, they are how deterrence is maintained, and they are the solution because they are already the environment. The only real question is whether America will build the environment first, according to American principles, or whether it will wake up inside an environment built by adversaries who do not share our principles. The founders gave us the answer before technology existed. Liberty without tools is fragile. Virtue without power is exposed. Maps without movement are useless. And a republic that refuses to secure the next frontier eventually finds that the frontier has secured it against them. So our task is clear. Harden the AI utility, secure the space layer, harden the networks, train the commanders, keep the human consciousness in command, move faster than the adversary, and make sure the most powerful tools in human history are first mastered by a nation most committed to keeping power accountable to freedom. This is not hype. This is not a sales pitch. This is the next requirement of our great American experiment. The campaign you followed across these 7 episodes, from the Continental Army's first maps, to the Civil War's telegraph intelligence networks, to the Cold War's satellite reconnaissance, has been about one thing beneath all of history: the relationship among information, terrain, tools, and decision. The chief role of the military is to shoot, move, and communicate. That will never change. The American warfighter has always been at their best when they had 3 things simultaneously. 1, situational awareness, knowing where they are and where the threat was. The second was reliable American-built equipment that would not fail them at the decisive moment. And the third, and this is the one that really mattered, was the training and discipline to act on awareness with precision and control. That is not a coincidence of military culture. It is a product of the American experiment, the conviction that the individual with good tools and good training can solve problems that mass and central authority cannot. The instruments change, the principles don't. In 1804, that meant a compass, a sextant, a rifle, and William Clark's disciplined hand drying a river bend by firelight. In 2026, that means a state-of-the-art GPS-enabled receiver with unparalleled jamming resistance and an AI-assisted target identification suite processing 179 data feeds in real time, and a newly minted Space Force Guardian operating a space surveillance sensor tracking every object in low Earth orbit. The principle connecting those two moments is the same. You cannot fight what you cannot see. You cannot move through terrain you haven't mapped. You cannot decide faster than your adversary if you don't have the tools to process what you observe. Precision instruments, built to function in the field, to survive the conditions that break lesser equipment, to be trusted when nothing else can be, are not luxury items in this tradition. They are the operational foundation of everything else that follows. Benjamin Franklin, born in 1706, died in 1790, the year after the Constitution was ratified. The Republic barely operational. In his final years, he said that he was sorry he couldn't live to see what the next 100 years would bring. He would have been 320 years old in 2026. He would have watched the American astronauts fly by the moon aboard a spacecraft named Integrity. He would have watched AI algorithms outmaneuver human pilots in an F-16 dogfight. He would have watched a private rocket company save a nation's communications grid in 10 hours. He would have seen satellites built and launched with a precision and cadence that would have seemed like magic. He would not have been surprised. He would have been exactly as curious as he always was. He would have pulled out his notebook. He would have asked the engineer about the physics, the soldier about the decision loop, and the astronaut about what it looked like from beyond the Earth. And then he would have said, "What comes next?" That is the unique American question. 250 years in, we have not grown tired. The next 250 starts now.